Okay. Yeah, no, every time I've been down here, though, they haven't had any issues with me filming. So they just say...
Be careful, because we got an officer on each floor.
Right, no, I was talking to those guys down there, like, yeah, as long as you're not crossing the barricades, you're fine.
Okay.
And I'm not planning on doing that. All I'm doing is, and you actually just made my video here, proving the fact that there is security here. You know what I mean? Because, you know, the main narrative has been there's no security whatsoever at here. Anyone can just walk into the building, and it's like, well, the last couple times I've been down here, you guys have stopped to talk to me, just making sure I'm not doing anything nefarious, which obviously I'm not. Yeah. And I do my thing, I upload it, and I'm done.
There you go.
So, all right, how's it going, everyone? So we're at the Arizona State Fairground right now, just giving you guys an update on the audit. As you guys saw, did get stopped by security. They were talking to me a little bit, just making sure, you know, who I was, what I was doing, all that good stuff. So anyone still telling you, especially the major media, that's saying this building is not secure, this whole property is very secure. I've been stopped by law enforcement a couple times while I've been down here, and just, hey, what are you doing, man? Show them, like, you know, hey, here's what I'm doing. Media, independent, just out here covering the audit, right? Showing the truth as opposed to what the major media says. And they verify that up the chain of command. You're good. Go ahead and film. Now, I am going to have to get out of here in a few minutes just because traffic's going to be a nightmare leaving because graduation's just wrapping up. They're having graduation over at the fairgrounds right now, which is why they, in the actual building there, so that's why they moved everything over here. So everything is in the building behind. They have all the trucks secured. There's armed security, which are law enforcement, walking all the way around and patrolling. And you also have people inside the building. So what that means, it's very secure. If you're not supposed to be there, you can get arrested, right? They will criminally trespass people who are on the property that are doing anything nefarious, right? So again, I got to break that major media lie. The big lie, as they say, that the audit process is not secure. Well, look behind me. It's very secure. Look at the clip that I'm overlaying here. Security talking to me, right? Law enforcement talking to me, seeing what I was doing down here. So, other updates from today. You had the Senate hold a hearing with Cyber Ninjas and a few of the other people involved with the audit. Very informative. I will cut that over here. Some key clips, right? Which I think you guys should all listen to on why this is happening and what was the process leading up to that point, or to the point we are today. So I'll cut that in right now.
We're gavelled in. Our mics are now activated, where we are going live. Thank you very much for joining us today. We had hoped that this meeting would be a little bit different because we just had so many questions. You had questions. And unfortunately, the Board of Supervisors did not want to join us. So thank you for still being here, and we'll try and get through as many questions and answers as possible. The purpose of why we are doing this is the audit in particular, as many may or may not know, this has nothing to do with overturning the election or decertifying electors or anything else. It never has been about that. What this is about is the Senate, the Arizona Senate. We are in charge of creating, passing laws, and ensuring that elections are done properly, accurately, safely, with full election integrity. This is what our job is. This is our only purpose of doing this. We know that from the very get-go in the beginning, there was many, many questions about the security of an audit, not just in Arizona, but around the United States as well. Some rightly so, some are not. Excuse me, this is a closed hearing, please, yeah. Some closed, or some rightly so, and some not. But our job is to get those questions answered. Our job is to make sure that voters and constituents, they understand the process, they have full confidence in our election integrities, and if we find any problems, errors, or anything else, our job is to fix that, to make sure that those things don't continue on in the future. That is our sole purpose. When this started, the first thing we said is we should get ahead of this. I called the supervisors and asked them, Please do an audit, do a more expanded audit than what you normally do. You can see that there's going to be a lot of questions. It's very apparent. Let's do it. And their comment to me was, we can only do what the legislature authorizes. When I reached back with them the following week, they said, oh, yeah, we're behind you, President. We want you to do it, but now we're seeing lawsuits, and so we can't do anything while the lawsuits are going on. This went on for about 4 weeks. When the lawsuits were complete, I finally called them again, and I said, okay, lawsuits are done. No question about tampering of evidence. Let's do this audit together. Let's do it at McTech. I don't want the ballots moved. I don't want the equipment moved. Let's do the audit. Let's do it at your facilities under everybody's purview. They said, well, we can't do it because we don't have legislative authority to do it. So we ended up holding a hearing, which is great because we had 6 hours of them helping us understand and helping the citizens of Arizona of how the election process works. And at the end of that, the Judicial Committee, this was in December 14th, the Judicial Committee, they issued 2 subpoenas that would give the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors the authority to do more forensic audits. Unfortunately, they came back and said, well, I feel like I was slapped in the face because you just did these subpoenas. Not true. The week before, we had actually gone through a number of meetings that laid out what we were going to do on Monday, and they were told that there is a good possibility there would be subpoenas issued on Monday. So don't be surprised. I don't like blindsiding people at all. So instead of saying, okay, we have the authority, now what they did is they took us to court. They sued us because saying that we didn't have the authority to issue subpoenas. And after that, few weeks of going to court, costly, the judges came back and said, yes, you are the Senate. You are doing this for the purpose of finding out if our election integrity is to where it should be and fix anything that needs to be fixed. We have all that authority. The judge issued that. From that time on, it has been nothing but delays, delays, delays. Every time we have asked them to please work with us on this, we have received nothing but pushback and continual to the point where they don't even want to answer our simplest questions. This is frustrating, but we will get this. This is our job. We owe it to our constituents to get their questions answered. I have said from the get-go, I'm relatively sure we're not going to find anything of any magnitude that would imply that any intentional wrongdoing was going. I believe that we were going to find what we've known all along, and some of the things is that we could probably do a little better job with chain of custody and all the things that we've all talked about. So that's where we're at right now. This is why it's taken us 6 months to get to this point. And let's get this thing done and get our questions answered and get it out to the public and let everybody know that our next election will be 100% safe and secure and everybody can feel comfortable going to the polls again. So that's what we're here. So with that, let's start with Senator Peterson is here with me. He is the chair of the Senate Judicial Committee, and who we are talking to, which you will introduce and get their qualifications. So I'm turning it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. We'll just start with introductions. So if you can just say your name and who you're with, and we'll start with you, Mr. Logan.
I'm Doug Logan. I'm the CEO of Cyber Ninjas.
Okay.
I'm Ken Bennett. I'm the Senate liaison.
I'm Ben Cotton. I am the founder of Cypher.
Okay. So we appreciate you gentlemen being here this morning. I want to first ask you guys about your qualifications. Mr. Logan, I'd like to start with you. Could you please share the qualifications that Cyber Ninjas has, as well as Wake Technologies, who's also part of this audit? They're not here today. I would like you to also talk about their qualifications, just briefly, both of you.
Sure.
So I run an application security company. We work with some of the largest names in the financial services space as well as the government sector, evaluating applications for vulnerabilities, finding problems with them, and helping people fix them. We're also did work in Antrim County this year, evaluating the systems being utilized there, figuring out how they work and what problems might be in those. Wake TSI has conducted a couple of hand counts. They did one in New Mexico a while ago. They just recently had their report released for Fulton County, Pennsylvania. That report is actually available on the Fulton County website. They did hand counts as part of that in addition to other audit work.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Bennett.
I'm born and raised in Arizona. I have a degree in accounting from Arizona State University. I've spent about 35 years in the private sector, usually as either the CEO or CFO of a variety of companies, including our family business in Prescott. I've had kind of a dual career in politics. I served on the Prescott City Council for 4 years, the State Board of Education for 7 years, 2 years as president. Also served in the state Senate here for 8 years, 4 years as president of the Senate. And then I served from 2009 to 2015 as the Secretary of State for the state of Arizona, which is the chief elections officer of the state.
And how are you helping? What is your role right now?
Well, I've known Senator Fan most of our adult life. We're both from the Prescott area. When I saw the back and forth between the Senate and the Board of Supervisors, having been a state senator but also involved in elections, I called to offer if I could be of any assistance, and doggone it, she called me back and said, would you be a liaison so that her and the rest of you here in session could focus on that? And she asked me to be the Senate liaison, and that's been the role I've been performing.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Cotton.
I'm the founder of Cipher LLC. Cipher LLC is a national level incident response and forensics firm specializing in helping companies solve problems. We also support legal firms in both the plaintiff and the defense side of the legal matters that may arise involving digital evidence. I personally have over 25 years of computer forensics and incident response experience. 13 of those years were spent as a part-time instructor to Guidance Software. They're now owned by OpenText. They are the manufacturers and the makers of the EnCase software. I have a master's degree in information technology. I also have a CISSP and hold numerous forensics certifications.
Very good. Madam President, if it's okay, I would like to start with the first question.
Please.
And this question would be for Mr. Logan. We've heard that there were other audits that have already been done. Why do we need to do this audit? So I'm hoping you can help me understand how this audit is different than some of the other audits that have been done.
Sure. So the other audits primarily focused on making sure that the version of software that was expected to be running on the machines, whether that's the tabulators or the EMS or so forth, was in fact the version that was in use. They also did, they ran some off-the-shelf software to detect any malware that's on the machines, and they ran logic and accuracy testing, which involves taking about 100 sample ballots, run it through the system, and making sure that for those sample ballots, they're counting. But at no point in any of those audits did they actually take a look at actual ballots and run those ballots through the system or do actual counting of it to validate the results. They were all focused on whether it was the right type or whether the right version of the software. Our audit is focused on specifically the results. Are the results exactly as they came through? Are they the way they were cast? And does it go all the way through the system that way?
Let's talk about equipment a second. You relayed in the concerns that you had that I relayed to the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. There were questions about the routers that we were supposed to, from our subpoena, we were going to get things. You had mentioned to me before I did this letter of a concern that we were supposed to get some equipment and we didn't get it. Could you explain that to us, please?
A little over a week before the machines were to be delivered, I was having questions with Mr. LaRue, the Assistant County Attorney, as to how they were going to handle the routers that were part of the subpoenas and the other hubs and related internet connectivity equipment, if that's a term. I'm not sure it is, but I'll call it that. And about a week before the machines were to be delivered, I called Mr. LaRue and offered that we could have the contractor that would be looking at the routers actually come to McTech and look at the routers while they were still installed and in place in McTech so that nothing had to be removed or disturbed. He called me back the next day and said that they had removed all of the equipment and that they had replaced it at great expense to the county, and that all of that would be on a pallet delivered with the rest of the equipment on what turned out to be April 21st. When the 21st arrived, and I couldn't see or identify that pallet of internet equipment or routers or hubs or whatever, I asked him where they were, and he said that they had decided not to do it that way, that they were still back in the building, and that they would provide us virtual access was the term that he used. I believe these two gentlemen were standing nearby me when that happened, and so we were told that instead of receiving that equipment, we would receive virtual access. That continued to be their position for more than 2 weeks, and when we finally pushed on when are we going to get virtual access, then they eventually came back and said that the routers in McTech are somehow connected to the Sheriff's Department and other county departments, and that if they gave them to us or even gave us virtual access, that Social Security numbers would be at risk and county health records, and so they have now refused to give us even virtual access.
So, Madam President, if I may, I think this is a really important issue because one of the things that we need to complete this audit is the routers. You asked for the routers. The county has said that we would get the routers. We've just heard testimony that they had already disconnected them and they were sending them over. Then they showed up and said that the routers would be provided, you'd be provided virtual access to the routers. And Mr. Bennett, you said that was actually in person and these two gentlemen were present?
Yes.
Mr. Logan, were you present when the county said they would provide virtual access?
Yes, sir. And they also said they'd give us Splunk logs as well, so detailed logs of all the network activity.
Okay, and Mr. Cotton, were you present when the county said they would provide virtual access as
I
well?
was.
Okay.
Question, did you receive those spunk logs that they promised? No?
No, ma'am.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Senator Peterson.
So Madam President, I just think it's really important that we put that on the record, that we were told that we'd get them, even heard that they were, it sounds like, possibly a misunderstanding, if we give them the benefit of the doubt, is a misunderstanding that they were already disconnected and ready to send. And then ultimately, at some point, it changed to, we're not going to give them to you because of security issues. And so my question with that would be, we've got cybersecurity people here. What was offered so that we could, what's offered so that we can deal with these security concerns with us looking at the routers? And I guess we'll start with Mr. Logan on that.
So the Splunk logs, if we had the complete Splunk logs, would be something that would be very useful in order to look through things. But I'm actually going to defer to Mr. Cotton on this because this is his expertise of what he'd look at.
All right. Yeah, Mr. Cotton, if you could, what can we, help us understand how we could look at the routers and this could be a secure process?
So first of all, if I could explain kind of the function of a router in layman's terms. So if you think of a packet of data as an envelope in the U.S. postal system, the router is essentially the carrier that delivers that envelope to the right mailbox, okay? You've got a originating address, you've got a destination address, the data is contained in a packet, and the router typically does not record any of that information inside of the packet. It simply delivers that envelope to the proper mailbox that it's destined for. My confusion here with the stance that the county is taking is that, well, it's twofold. So the first point of concern / confusion is the assertion that PII data and Maricopa County resident data would be compromised by examining the router. That data should not exist on that router, period. So to state that it could be compromised would be an inaccurate statement or an inaccurate portrayal of what the data is on the router. The second piece on this that is concerning to me is that there have been public reports by ProVNV, there have been statements by the county saying that these election systems don't actually touch the internet. Therefore, the extension of that would be that they do not touch the county network because that's exposed to the internet. And to say that the data corresponding to these networks would somehow compromise law enforcement activity or PII data seems incongruous to the previous statements. Okay, and if you take the letter which states these compromises would occur at face value, then de facto that means that the election data had to be exposed to the internet, which I don't know if it's the case or not. But that's certainly something that we need to explore given the inconsistencies in these public statements and reports that they have presented. The actual fact is that after they shut down the provisioning of us with this data, there have been no other offers for us to get access to the data, to review the data, or otherwise obtain that data.
So, Madam President, if I may, Mr. Cotton, have you, what kind of experience do you have accessing confidential or top secret data?
So we routinely work for some of the largest companies in the world with incident response breaches, with forensics matters, and we are entrusted with that data, and we have never had an exposure, a leak, or any type of data being emitted from our custody. I also have personal experience at the highest levels of government supporting agencies in which security clearances are required.
So, Madam President, Mr. Cotton, are you confident that you could look at the routers without risking any security concerns or breaches to the county?
Yes.
Thank you.
So you guys saw all that, right? Breaks the narrative right there, in my opinion. So on that note, guys, not much going on because this audit's going to resume in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, whenever they're done with graduations over there at the Coliseum, and everything's going to get moved back in. You can watch the live feed to see all where the trucks are right now inside, again under heavy guard, and you know, we'll see what the audit team has to say moving forward. But again, I still find it hilarious that the Russiagate people are the ones that are against the audit here. So, you know, actually, I'm not really surprised, but you get the point. Like, it's pretty hypocritical. So, I mean, that's where we're at today, guys. So, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And assuming this channel is not banned off YouTube, because we got a warning for posting about the C word that you're not supposed to mention on social media. And I'll do another update video on that, but I'll save that for another, as I said, another video. But some major news going to be dropping on that pretty soon about YouTube censorship. Spoilers, look at what Steven Crowder's doing. Say no more. So cover that in another video. But on that note, guys, like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all that good stuff, and I'll see y'all next time.